What's up, y'all? It's Cecil West, Beyond the Harmony, BeyondTheHarmony.com, the #1 Bone Thugs and Harmony podcast in the world. Back again with the one and only
Jason Quest.
And this is your question of the week. I've been taking a few questions from BTNH board members, the Bone Cult members, people in our comments, and one that I had come across that I thought was really, really interesting, Quest, was from Justin Piper. I believe it was on the BTNH board, and he said, should Bone Thugs tour less? What do you think?
Hey, let's just cut off their supply of money and expect them to keep releasing music. How about that? How about that one? Let's cut their complete source of income out and expect to still get some good stuff from them. Absolutely no. And not only that, imagine, think about this. If somebody even proposed they should tour less, it's probably somebody that got to see Bone live in their life. Okay, but think about all the people all around the world that want to see Bone and they don't get to see him. And unless this is their chance to actually see them because Bone's been torn so much. So imagine you waited your whole life. You waited 20, 25 years to see Bone. And somebody out there proposes, hey, you know what? Bone should just stop touring. Because I got to see, I was privileged enough to get to see him at least twice, maybe more times. So absolutely not. Bone should continue touring if it's what they want to do or if it's what their financial scenario requires them to do. It gets them out there. It gives every Bone fan an opportunity to get to see their favorite group of all time. Some of them waiting 25 years to see Bone. So no way. Bone, bring it to the world, baby. Give everybody a chance to see you guys. I'm with Bone going. My answer is no, Cecil. What's your answer?
Well, okay, when I hear a question like this, I'm like, all right, what's the motivation? Because the question doesn't really click with me as to why we would possibly want that, right? Like as fans, don't you want to see the group as much as possible? So I'm like, all right, well, there's only a couple things here. It's either A, they feel like all this touring is taken away from new music, or B, they do so many shows that maybe their shows aren't special to you like that. Like, those are the only two things that it could be, right? Like they either feel like it's being holding back the music or it's taking the shine away from what it is to see Bone Thugs live. I don't know. I don't know why you would ask that. My immediate absolute answer is no. Of course they should continue to tour. Like why the fuck would they tour less? They're the Rolling Stones. They're the Rolling Bones, bro. Like this is the Rolling Bones. This is they're gonna tour probably until they're Mick Jagger and you gotta fucking pull them off the stage, and they should. They've earned that. They're icons. People want them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let me tell you something, motherfucker. You don't get in there if you don't tour your fucking ass off. You don't get to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame touring once every 5 years as a rapper. To be a rapper and get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you got to show fucking rock and roll fucking size balls, motherfucker. And you can't get there touring sometimes. And Bone, they tour like rock stars. And I think that's a huge reason why we should push for them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because they tour like rock stars. So they absolutely shouldn't tour less. I think what they should do is get themselves maybe a tour bus situation like we've seen in the past, where they have a recording situation in that bus, because I would agree that it probably takes away from them being able to record the way they should. So it would be cool if they had that situation, but they absolutely shouldn't tour less. These are fucking rock stars, and let's support them getting their money, man. I've talked about it before on the show. They lost a lot of money in the 90s. Touring is a huge part. Touring and merchandise are a huge part of their money. So we want Bone to make all the money they can, because the more money Bone makes, the more stuff that we get from Bone. Of course, if they're not making money, like what's in it for them to do this? And we know that record sales, and I'm talking true record sales, I'm not talking streams and shit. Record sales are at the lowest that they've been in probably ever. So, they're not making a lot of money there. So it's like the more money they make, the more Bone we get. If this isn't a financial thing, then we won't have Bone. So absolutely not. We want these guys to tour forever.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is if there was something that I would like to see out of it, I wish they would improve their live performance product, because it's not always the best. They do an okay job, but there's sometimes where like the mics, it may not even be their fault. Sometimes it may be the audio crew that sometimes like a Crazy Bone, maybe his voice is just shot from touring night after night after night. So maybe they should space it out to let their throats heal. Sometimes they don't sound so good. Sometimes they sound great live. So it's kind of like the venue or how they're feeling. Sometimes they look great. Sometimes it's kind of like, the audio is kind of off. So I just wish they'd improve upon that.
People don't like it, but I always say they are notorious for leaning on the backing track in a big way.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely not saying that they're lip syncing. I think Bone is up there rapping their ass off, but I think we're getting a heavy backtrack a lot of the times. I can actually confirm this from a few shows that I've been involved with, that there were Bone members involved with, that we get a heavy backtrack. But I do think that there's some improvements that could be done as far as their live show. I do remember I saw the Resurrection tour, and I don't know if you got a chance to see that. That was just Flesh, Lazy, and Busy. And
was there a live band?
There was a live band, and it was fucking phenomenal. And Busy Bone was chucking Red Bulls down like it was nothing. He must have drank a 12-pack of Red Bulls, and that motherfucker blew the stage up. He was so amazing to watch with that band. It seemed like he was in such the element. So I thought that was a great move. I always think of too, like, it'd be cool if we saw more, I'm not going to say Art of War type stuff, but if you think back to the Art of War tour and shit, that big skull and stuff. So I'd like to see them come out with a bigger, I guess, like the stage props and stuff. I just don't want to see them on the stage with a big Bone Thugs banner behind them. I at this point, knowing that they are who they are, and me calling them the Rolling Bones, the Rolling Stones, they pull out all the stops. I will also say though that if you want to see the Rolling Stones, you're probably going to pay $100+ a fucking ticket to even sit in the nosebleeds, because the shit costs so much. Bone keeps shows very inexpensive. I just looked at the price of one. The tickets were like $27 for gen admission. So, it's give and take. They want to make it so everybody can see their shows. And when you add those things into the shows, it makes the ticket price go up. The New Waves tour that got canceled was going to be with a fucking full band. And I know the overhead for that one was going to be really high. I know that from experience, from being offered one of those shows to book it when it was still going to be a tour. So
if I ever win the lottery, I'm going to book Bone to do a show, and I'm going to require them to pull down the lights at the beginning and have everybody just kind of sitting there with their lighters up or their cell phones up, and it's going to go boom, 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 boom. Before it does that, it's going to go crazy by the flesh.
Oh no.
And then the curl of the Bones is going to kick in. And then after that happens, you're going to hear the Eazy-E Ouija voice. What's up, motherfuckers? Realize, recognize, idolize. And And then Handle the Vibe's going to kick in. They're going to come out to that or Flow Motion just to do it just for you, Cecil. But it's not too likely I'm going to win the lottery ticket, especially since I don't buy lotto tickets. Better luck next life.
Justin Piper wanted to know, should Bone tour less? Me and Mr. Quest both said absolutely not. Let them tour forever. But now it's your time to let us know what you think. Do you think Bone should tour less? Drop it in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to drop a question that you want to hear us talk about on the Question of the Week. And of course, we'll check you on the next one.